Hey guys, Dominic Neshi here, another session of Whiteboard Wednesdays. Last week I did one on yields. Now, as a result of that, I had a number of you come back to me with some questions, and I thought I'd answer a couple of them. The first one was, what regions are delivering high yields? Now, I suppose rather than me writing a full list of all the areas that are yielding quite well, you can probably get that from your Property Investment Magazine or a number of other sources. I thought I'd just answer this in a bit more of a general term. Now, what I've noticed and what you'll notice is that typically regional centres and if you go into country towns, they are going to yield much better than if you move into CBDs. The CBD locations are hotly contested, people are willing to pay way more money for that real estate, and as a result, yields tend to compress. If you go towards Bondi, your rental yields might be 1.5 to the very maximum 3%. If you go out towards Orange or Bathurst, or if you go even further abroad, you're going to start getting much higher yields because there's less people, less competition in those markets. Now, another place you can go and get higher rental yields is if you go and buy commercial or industrial property. Now, this is an entirely new world. It's a lot more of a difficult transaction, and it's probably for a more sophisticated investor. So if this is your first time, stick to residential. It's a lot less that you need to worry about, and it's much easier for you to get finance and get into it. Now, the second question is, what is a benchmark yield to be aiming for? Now, this is a bit more of a broader question again. Now, the way I'll answer this is, I learned that a good yield for you to be going for is about 5%. Now, the reason why is because for a long time, our rental rates, our interest rates have been lower than 5%. Now, I suppose the answer there is you want your yields to be higher than what you're paying for at your bank rate. So that means you're building these positive cash flow properties. Now, that depends on what you want. Some people are chasing 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% yields, but no, the higher the yield is, typically the more riskier the asset, as from a growth perspective. The lower the yield is, the safer, more secure it typically is. As I mentioned in the previous question, Bondi, it's typically pretty secure. If you go into inner cities, pretty secure assets, the yields start to compress. The further abroad you go, the further afield you go, the yields start to get much greater, so too does the risk. So to answer that question, I typically go for a property that's got at least a 5% yield, or at the very minimum, it's got higher than the bank rate. Now, you just need to be cognizant of the fact that bank rates have been low for a long time, but long-term averages tend towards sort of 6 or 7%. So keep that in the back of your mind. Anyways, we'll jump into Whiteboard Wednesday session in just a second. Okay, back again. Now, I want to do a nice quick session. This is lending itself to the last topic. So today I want to talk to you about positively geared property. Now, what is a positively geared property? Basically, if you add up all of your expenses, interest, maintenance, rates, insurance, all that stuff, and your rent is more than the amount that you're paying out, you're generating a positively cash flowed property. You're creating cash from day one. Okay, this is great. Now, the advantages of this, again, you're making money from day one. This is pretty much the ideal scenario. You've got a good property, it's creating cash flow, you let it tick away, and provided you picked a good area, over time it's going to grow, and it's not costing you anything. Fantastic. Disadvantages, I've heard people say this before, that the disadvantage of a positively cash flow property is that you're paying more tax. I think it's stupid. Yes, you're paying more tax, but it's because you're making more money. I suppose the other disadvantage is if you've got a crappy property, but that's got nothing to do with the fact that it's positively cash flow. So, all in all, the idea is you want to go and aim for a positively cash flow property. Next week, I'll talk to you about negative gearing and what it's like to have a positively cash flow property after tax as a result of negative gearing. Anyways, chat to you then. If you've got any questions about this, leave it in the comments, send me a text, or flick me a message. Chat to you all soon.